Welcome to the Loom Room. Today in the studio, we have none other than the founder and CEO of Loom, Yolanda Scott.
Thanks for having me.
What is Loom? What is from the ground up? What can we expect in this two-day conference?
So we'll start with what is Loom. I developed Loom in order to fill some of the gaps that I was seeing over the years in services and things that were provided. In my experience professionally, the biggest thing that happened and the things that were most successful were as a result of collaboration and partnerships. And through my work, I saw a lot of silos. I saw a lot of reasons why things couldn't work, or at least that's what people thought. When I found myself collaborating, working together with other agencies or other people, then the things that people thought were impossible actually were possible. And just trying to look at things a little bit differently, trying to get past the bureaucratic red tape, trying to think innovatively, which is where I live, in that the big ideas and the innovation, and that's where I thrive. But I also have seen that as a result of those things, people benefit. And that's why I created Loom. It's just working with people. We're addressing education, we're addressing workforce, we're addressing inclusion in the community. We work with entities, organizations, individuals to learn how to think inclusively, learn how to collaborate cross sectors, and let people know it's okay to collaborate. We don't have to stay in those silos. And taking a step out and going into Loom has freed some of that restriction that I was feeling to be able to just grow and do some big things with different populations of people. As an example, we've got from the ground up, and that's really just putting everything that I just talked about into practice. And so from the ground up is a conference for cross-sector partners. And so we're going to see workforce professionals there, education professionals, entrepreneurs. We're going to see a lot of agencies that you don't usually see in the same room or at the same conference. But it's also people that I have worked with. A lot of the speakers that we have, we've done some innovative things together. And so we want to have the opportunity to talk to other people and say, look what happens when we work together. It's always stronger when we're working together and collaborating. And so there's my tagline. We're stronger by design. We're going to hear a lot about leadership, how to go to the next level, how to lead a team, how to think creatively and leverage partnerships that you have, but also how to network. The importance of networking is huge. And so you'll have the opportunity to meet people that maybe you've never crossed paths with and talk about the big ideas, because a lot of times when you put it out there and you start talking about your ideas or you talk about your pain points, somebody else is having those same pain points, or they can figure out how to address things maybe in a way that you hadn't thought about. And there's the old saying, two heads are better than one. But when you're thinking, it truly is a network. And the stronger your network, the stronger the expertise we have in the room, the better it is for an opportunity for whatever your concept is to work. And so whether it's entrepreneurs trying to figure out how to launch something, or they have a big idea and they're not quite sure, we're going to have some funders in the room. We're going to talk about some creative ways that you can fund those projects. Sometimes we lean on grants, and grants are not always sustainable. So what are some other ways that we can leverage resources and funding? Having worked in the nonprofit world, you never have a big pot of money that you can just use for all the creative things that you want to do. But there's other entities that do. And so when you can mix and match, if you will, those resources and those partners, a lot of times you can get things done with little to no out-of-pocket costs. You just got to have the wherewithal and the grit to stick with it and think a little bit differently. And also, sometimes we want to keep everything close to the vest, which I understand, and that's necessary sometimes. But when you create a trusted network, then you can start talking with people who you've developed relationships with and start talking about some of the possibilities to make things happen. As far as the community, we're talking about serving individuals that have barriers to education, employment, and training. And so a lot of organizations do that work, but a lot of times we're not working together in it. And so talking about what that is, talking about inclusive hiring practices. Employers are talking about the fact that they can't find quality staff or employees that will stay. talking about some populations that maybe they hadn't considered looking at. What are some ways that we can make the work environment more conducive to keeping those employees and those type of things? So it's really broad, but it's intentional because when we're too narrow, sometimes we miss opportunities because we have such a narrow view or perspective on how things should be.
We are in Oklahoma. For those outside of Oklahoma, is this conference for them or is it exclusive to Oklahomans?
That's the beauty of having a virtual event. It's open to whomever wants to log in and join us because while some of the organizations are unique to Oklahoma, the concept is not. There's always similar organizations wherever you might be. So if you're in another state or even if you're in another country, the idea is to hear what people are doing, find out the types of agencies that are in the room. And then once you get that information, go out to your local areas and start finding those same groups of people to be able to do it.
Part of the conference is a panel discussion on day one. You've got a 4-member panel. Talk to us about the panel discussion, why it's important, and what we can expect as conference attendees from this panel.
The panel discussion is with 4 individuals, 2 from funders that are based here in Oklahoma, but again, they have similar types of organizations and agencies across the country. But then also we have 2 unique situations, one with an entity that hires individuals with disabilities, and they have enterprises where those individuals work, and then they also have housing. But then they're also going to talk about some innovative ways that they have used incentives to be able to save money that also go back into the operations because they're a nonprofit. Another lady that's on our panel is going to be talking about inclusive post-secondary education opportunities. And so not only hiring individuals with disabilities, but also having programs where those individuals can go to school and post-secondary school. So they can go to college. That's specifically for individuals with intellectual disabilities. But the whole idea is to talk about the ways that they have built programs, the way that they're continuing to build programs. And then the funders come in to talk about ways that those programs are sustainable. And so how they can offset those things, not just through grants, but philanthropic dollars and those type of things.
Who should attend this conference?
Anybody can get a benefit of it. They're going to learn something, but specifically educators who are trying to figure out a way that they can offer more opportunities to their youth and young adults as they graduate. One of the big things that schools are looking at right now are post-graduation successes. If they're figuring out, hey, what's the next step? We're going to have people talking about construction. We're going to talk about training. There's all kinds of opportunities for these students. And so if college is not the next step, then what is? And so we're going to be talking about some of that. Workforce professionals who are really trying to navigate systems for those individuals and those clients that they're serving, and they don't know about the resources that are available. They may be there to learn about new training opportunities. Philanthropists, people who have money, who maybe want to give those dollars to a good cause. A lot of these things are the feel goods, quite honestly. Things that motivate us are always when it's bureaucratic, we're looking at numbers, we're checking boxes, but sometimes it's the good work that we're doing. And so people who are interested in the good work, and I truly believe when you do the good work, all the results follow. So you're going to have the good jobs because you're pouring into the employees or the trainees or the students. Educators, workforce professionals, people who are looking to hire quality employees. If you're an employer and you're trying to figure out how to tap into some of these talent pools that maybe you're not aware of, that'll be another opportunity for you to hear, oh, okay, these are some different populations that maybe I hadn't considered, but with a little bit of training and a few accommodations, they're going to be quality employees. And so you get a chance to hear from other employers who have actually hired these individuals and hear some of those success stories as well.
Are you talking about persons with disabilities, people with other barriers to employment, formerly justice involved? and people with other barriers as well. Um, is this conference for these individuals or more for the individuals and entities that serve them?
I think this particular conference is going to be for the individuals that serve them. So the agencies, the businesses, the employers, those type of things to really tap into the behind the scenes operations of how do we develop and design these programs and these systems to be stronger. Then once we have that established, then there's the action forward. There's the action plan. Okay, now that we know how to go about it or where to go and seek these, then we get in front of these job seekers who are really interested in doing something besides maybe the traditional four-year college or university. As we have plans, it's a strategic setup as well with this. Let's talk about what the plan is. Let's talk about what the design is. And once we've established that, then we can start getting in front of these job seekers or these individuals who are looking for other training opportunities and educational opportunities so that we can talk to them about the system that's been developed.
This conference has five different tracks that the breakout speakers are going to be addressing, and the panel is going to address all five of these areas. But let's have a little fun here. I am going to mention the track, and then I want you to describe the track for the audience so they can get an idea of what to expect from this particular area. Let's kick it off. I'm going to start with work and learning reimagined. Go.
Coming from a formal education background and administrator and teacher, I've found that we all think about education the same way. Work and learning reimagined is let's do it differently. It can be about project-based learning. It can be talking about short-term training opportunities. There's learning that goes beyond the classroom setting. There could be summer internships. There can be regular internships, apprenticeships. So just really thinking about things beyond what's already existing and dreaming it up. It's wide open, in ways to do that is what we're going to be talking about. What is your idea? What does education and training look for you? Because the traditional sit and get is not working for our students. Their attention span is shorter. And so just trying to do something a little different, catch their attention, and we have some examples of that during the conference.
Reminds me of a conversation we recently had with one of our sponsors, GES, just talking about how college isn't necessarily for everyone, but there are alternative paths to training and becoming ready for the workforce. So we've got a lot of speakers who are going to be covering those particular areas and just letting employers, educators, workforce professionals, and so forth know what some of these options are. I'm really looking forward to that.
Can
Yeah,
I
go
say
ahead.
one more thing? I'd like to
Of
say one more
course.
thing. So when we talk about work and learning reimagined, you talked about the employers. Employers can take that on. They don't have to leave it to other people to do their training, whether it's developing their own apprenticeship program or internship. And so they can take back control because a lot of times, even though individuals may have gone through some kind of training, it's not unique to a specific company. And so they still have to be retrained. And so talking about what that training could be and how the employers can own that to ensure that the employees that they have are properly trained in the industries that they're interested in, or specific to that employer. And so that's another part of reimagine, because a lot of times we think of learning in the classroom at a school or a career tech. It could be on the job training, and that's just as valuable.
Let's move on to the next one. Community by design.
There's a lot of pieces to that. So when we talk about community, it could be our work environment, it could be our living community. There's a lot of different things that could be encompassed when we talk about community, but specifically to the workforce and to the work environment in the community, just being as inclusive as possible. But you have to also be intentional with that. It has to be designed. Times like this is an opportunity for people to re-examine the environment of a workplace and to see how they can do things that are more inclusive of a community, um, and how to feed them. Because the other idea with employers specifically is the fact that turnover is costly. And a lot of times when people leave jobs, they talk about why they left. And a lot of times it's based on leadership or the lack thereof, or just the environment doesn't suit them, depending on what their circumstances are. It could be things like childcare. If we don't have childcare, then I can't come to work. Or it could be something like a three strikes and you're out. And so individuals who have had an issue with childcare, or if they've had a sick child and they can't get them to school, or if their transportation is a barrier, people who really want to go to work because employers want that, but because of policies that are inadvertently working against the employees, you start to see a high turnover, which then costs the employers. And so when you develop that community intentionally and you address some of those needs, then we've redesigned what that community looks like. And the same thing for just everyday living, involving everybody, being inclusive, being mindful of the people that we engage with in the words that we speak. We want to pour into people. And again, to be intentional. Those type of things don't happen by accident.
Can you speak to that more specifically before we move on from this point, about community by design as it pertains to people with disabilities and the workplace, and just how they benefit from community, and also how the community benefits from including them and giving them a seat at the table as well?
I think the biggest thing when we talk about individuals with disabilities, I think sometimes we default to what we perceive as an individual with disabilities. And so that's the first thing that I want to debunk, is because a lot of people who are walking around with us may have hidden disabilities. And we just don't know. It's not always physical. And so it's up to the employee to disclose that disability or not. But if we're intentional with designing those communities that are automatically inclusive, then they don't have to worry about those things. And so, specifically with individuals with disabilities, sometimes it's just minor accommodations. Some of the things that need to be done in the workplace usually cost, most of them cost less than $500 to make an accommodation. It could be a screen reader, it could be larger font, it could be larger print. There's a lot of different things. It could be less of the fluorescent lighting, sound, headphones, a lift on a desk so that they can get under with a wheelchair. There's just those type of things that really needs to be done. I had a conversation just last week with a company, and they were talking about a young lady who was visually impaired, and she was in accounting. And so when she started her accounting career, she was sighted, and after that, lost her vision. She didn't lose her ability to do the accounting. She just needed the accommodations on her computer so that she could actually do the accounting. And so when employers look at things through that lens and to not just automatically judge, I think they'll find that there's a talent pool that's just being left out. Being able to address that, to talk about it openly, and then the benefit. A lot of times, because these individuals have such a hard time getting the employment, they stay. They've already overcome such huge barriers to get a job. There's very little turnover when it comes to those type of individuals in those job placements. Back to the point of costs of turnover, when you have that higher retention, then your cost is also going to go down as an employer.
Here's another: systems and infrastructure innovation. Got some big words there. So what are
Those
we
big
talking about?
words. So everything, there's a system for everything, right? It's just how we've always done it is really what I'm talking about debunking. Just because it's a way that things have always been done does not mean that that's necessarily the best way to do it. It definitely doesn't mean that you can't do things better, right? And so really thinking innovatively, identifying what gaps are, where the barriers are, and then figuring out creatively how you can overcome those barriers. That's that cross-sector collaboration, because if you're just education, you may not be thinking about the workplace, right? And vice versa. If you're just talking about hiring as an employer, you're not necessarily thinking about the training. It also goes to that infrastructure that I was talking about with the policies. It could be as simple as rewriting your policy to where it's not necessarily a three strikes, you're out type of situation. Um, Mentors are huge. Just a lot of different things that could be done within an organization or within a system or an employer that can help make things better for everyone.
Funding and sustainability. Let's talk about it.
This track is because over the last probably year, but historically, grants are intended to get projects started, but it's not always intended for sustainability. And in fact, most grants actually ask you, how do you intend to sustain a project after the grant is finished? Those are some of the things that I was really thinking about when I developed this track, because a lot of times entities are solely dependent on grant funding. And if the grant funding goes away for whatever reason, then a lot of those programs are lost. And then as a result, the individuals that they serve are facing more barriers to education and employment and training and those type of things. Trying to figure out how to leverage resources. It could be employers offsetting some of the costs, potentially with childcare or different things like that. It could also be working. I talked about other entities having money because different agencies can spend money on different things. We hear about braiding funding. Well, we hear it, but people are not always doing it. That's another way. Another thing that can be talked about is we might have the programmatic piece here and then a funding piece here. Again, we're braiding resources, we're braiding funding. I've worked on nonprofits before. We've had events that cost in excess of $25,000, but not one agency covered the whole $25,000. We had partners, we had donors, we had sponsors. So different people take a different piece of the pie, but collectively it's impacting a large group of people and it has a positive impact. And none of it was based on grant funding specifically. When you talk about the sustainability beyond grants, you can do that when you have partnerships and you have cross-sector partnerships. And then also, we talked about philanthropic dollars, there's community investment monies, there's a lot of different things that are out there and available. Even as a small business, we always hear about your small business loans and those type of things. As a startup, you may not be in a position where you can apply for a loan or you don't want to have that obligation as a loan to be a startup because you're still in that proof of concept phase, right? There's other ways to launch those businesses and get some backup. But it's through your networks. It's who you know and it's who you're connected with. This conference is going to put you in front of a lot of those people that have those resources. And if they don't directly have them, then they can talk on their experience on how they've done things previously.
So this conference is potentially an opportunity for people to expand their network.
That is the intent. If you leave this conference, you should have no less than 5 new connections in people who are actually doing the work and are committed to it. So we're beyond theory. We're ready for action. The people that's going to be in the room and the people that you're hearing from are examples of people taking action to bring their vision to fruition.
All right. The next and final track is bold systems thinking. Let's talk about it.
I laugh because I think I have the bold thinking, nothing is impossible. It's really not. It takes time sometimes, but I think a lot of us have ideas brewing in our head all the time. Well, what if we could do things this way? What if we could do things that way? And the answer is you can. It's just figuring out the how. Thinking beyond, again, the norm. If it's just been done a certain way, that does not mean, if you look over history, right? Everything has evolved from electricity to the internet to AI. Everything is evolving. We can all have a seat at the table and we can evolve the ideas and the concepts that we have. And so there's no limit to that. And that's the beauty of our minds, really. If you can imagine it, things can be done. And being able to talk and to network with like-minded people to say, hey, this is my idea. And sometimes I'll preface, I know this is a crazy idea, but just hear me out. And sometimes we just got to get it out there, right? The power of the spoken word is huge, being able to get it out, talk through some things. And it's okay to go through different iterations. It's the design process. You're not likely to have the very best idea from the very beginning. So have the bold ideas, but then also go through different iterations until you land on something that's going to stick and that you're happy with. I'm inviting people to attend, to go on that journey with us, even with Loom. We're in it together. I'm not saying I'm the expert. Loom is not saying Loom is the expert on these things, but what we can say is we're bringing intentional partners into the room. You need to be here. You need to hear how things are being done differently. And I guarantee you're going to walk away with some aha moment that you didn't have when you came in.
During this 2-day conference, walk me through what to expect over these 2 days. What's the format and what to expect in terms of participation, lineup of speakers? How many speakers I'm going to be hearing from during the course of a day? What does the flow of things look like?
So we currently have about 30 speakers that are going to be presenting. And again, it's going to be virtual online, and we're using a platform that everybody's familiar with, Zoom. So easy links to join in. And then the course of the 2 days, we're going to open up with a keynote. And then we're also going to have a group of panelists that I mentioned before. And so we're going to talk about some different questions that address all of the 5 tracks that we just talked about. And so everyone can talk on that perspective. After that, there's going to be sessions. They're going to be one after the other. So we don't have concurrent sessions. It's going to be single tracks of sessions. And so they're 30-minute rapid fire. Individuals will have an opportunity to drop questions in the chat, do some interaction. We're also on Hoover for the communications piece, but for registration, you can go to our website, join us at loom.com to get our registration, and then all of the information once you've registered will be sent out as far as your link and those type of things. The first day we're actually going to be doing a networking event, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be virtual as well, but it'll have an opportunity to break out into some rooms, meet some people, and connect with individuals outside of the session. So if you see people, there's like, hey, I want to talk to them, then that'll be an opportunity for you to do that from 6 to 8 p.m. called Beyond the Buzz, which is on day 1 on March 3rd from 6 to 8 p.m. On Zoom as well.
The conference is quickly approaching. March 3rd and 4th is right around the corner. We want to see as many attend as possible. So give a compelling appeal to those who may be considering and may be on the fence about attending. Why should they attend? What's the benefit for them? Talk to them.
So if you're considering it and you're just not sure, I encourage you to keep an open mind. A lot of times you don't know what you don't know. And so if there's anything that we've talked about at this point, if it's education, if it's workforce, if it's training, if it's hiring individuals to have a strong employee base, all of those things we're going to be talking about. If you're not sure where you fit in, you need to be in the room, because that's also going to be an aha moment from you. You'll find your niche. You'll find what drives you. Everybody has a different strength. Everybody has something to add to the conversation. And so if you're not sure, if you work with individuals that may be in here, if you have people who need to go to work and you need to say, hey, you need to reach out to so-and-so, then maybe you need to get in the room and start disseminating that information to the individuals who need it. And so really this space is for anybody that has a common concern or interest around education, workforce, and training opportunities, or the greater good of the community as a whole.
Why from the ground up? Of all the things that you could have called this conference, why did you decide to call it from the ground up?
When we talk about innovation, when we talk about bold ideas, when we talk about new systems thinking, you have to start from somewhere. We're not trying to retrofit old systems. We know what those look like. We know what those silos look like. We've worked in them. From the ground up is really an innovative way to start some things that are new. If you don't have a seat at the table, create your own. And that's what we're doing. And we're supporting anyone else bold enough to do the same thing. Let's create our own tables. Let's build it from the ground up because we have to have a solid foundation, right? Whatever we're doing, we have to have a solid foundation. And if we know what those pieces are and what's required to have that solid foundation, then we can build upwards from there.
What do I walk away from this conference with? I'm going to be in attendance. I'm looking forward to it. But when I come away from this conference after the second day, what am I coming away with to go forward into my business, into my relationships professionally, into establishing that foundation for myself?
My goal is for everyone to have some action item before they leave. So it might be, hey, I'm going to reach out to this speaker and talk more about them, or that I want them to speak at my event. It could be we have some financial literacy coaches, we have some therapists. So whatever speaks to you, there should be an action item. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be asking people to write it down. For me, when I write things down, it sticks. And so commit to one thing. If it's going to be networking, find 3 to 5 people that you're going to network with and follow up with. If it's about better hiring practices, let's reach out to individuals who can do those training. There's lots of trainings that's out there for free. If employers are looking to train their own and they might want to do some apprenticeship programs and they don't really know how to get started, then ask those questions because we can help connect you to the right people. So the thing is that we are not, again, claiming to be the professionals of everything, but what we can do is we can help guide in the right direction. So when you leave here, you're going to know what your next step is, or you're going to have some ideas that start to develop and you're like, hey, I hadn't really thought about this, or I've been sitting on this idea for a long time and now I'm motivated and I really think that we can make this happen.
Wonderful. Well, I would just like to say I am proud of this effort. I'm proud of you and what you are building, what we are building, and all the people that is going to help. I'm glad to be a part of Loom and also a part of this conference. It's going to be a great experience with some great takeaways, and that it's going to be of benefit to a lot of people. So, just want to say thank you for doing this. As the first gentleman of Loom, I am extremely proud of this effort and of you and of Loom. From the ground up, we hope to see you all there March 3rd and 4th. It is a live virtual event. To learn more about the conference and to register, you can visit joinusatloom.com. That is joinusatloom.com. And again, there'll be a lot of information about the speakers and also a way for you to go ahead and register while you're there. Seating is limited, although it is a virtual conference. We tried to make it economical and affordable for everyone. Registration is currently only $49. You do not want to miss this conference, and you will come away from this conference empowered and ready to build from the ground up. Once again, to our founder and CEO of Loom, Yolanda Scott, thank you so much for joining me as we disseminate information about this wonderful event that is coming up. Looking forward to it and looking forward to great things from Loom in the future. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
We hope to see you soon for the conference. Register now. Join us at loom.com. Take care.